Welcome to Getting Back Up, where grief meets growth.
Two men, two fathers, and one shared journey of rebuilding.
We're talking about life after cancer, love, loss, and everything no one tells you.
Well, let's get into it. Where did Nalani, she stayed in the hospital or stayed in, did she go home or?
Yeah, man. I'll never forget. We don't forget these days. Is 8 years for you?
8 years.
Okay.
August. Mm-hmm.
How vivid is it still for you? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Is this, and you're 8, I'm 2, whatever.
Yeah.
But go ahead and then I'll.
No, yeah. I mean, I think there's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, and it reminded me of, these phone calls I had to make to the principals. I forget details like that. I forget, I forgot that thing, that step. I don't forget the last year.
Yeah.
Like every detail of the last year is very clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every place we went, every detail is very clear. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know why that specific year is or that specific time period has that much detail. But but when you think about like the memories you hold on to, I think for me, maybe those were some of the happiest memories and I think it was probably because back to the argument we had about where's the family, where's our friends, they all came. Like I felt, and I think it was partially because when we got into that argument and she was like, where's your family? Where are your friends? Why aren't they calling? Why aren't they visiting? Why isn't my cousin visiting? Why is it? And I'm like, listen, you're on Facebook looking all pretty with the, you using the filters and your cheeks are rosy red and you smiling and you rocking the, your wigs is tight. Like, how are we supposed to know? How are they supposed to know? And I think when I realized it and I started going to counseling and I actually started doing the research, I think that year is very vivid because I think that was, besides running the chemo and going back and forth, I think that was the point where I was actually picking up the phone, making calls to people. Like, I need you to get here.
So you were telling people at that point?
I started calling people and like, not that there was a timeline. Right. But more like, Janice needs you here. We need you here. So
were you given, I'd say, permission? What did she say? Start calling people.
It was a little bit. It was, and I kind of had. It was kind of like, I need you to be okay. Me saying, I need you to be okay. Not showing these people you're like made up Janice. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Because like she would do this thing where people would visit and she would like light switch, have all this energy, but exhaust herself. Somebody would come over. Oh, this person's come and visit us. So, okay, let me go and get changed. She'd come in. I was like, what happened like 30 minutes ago?
But is she protecting them?
I think it was kind of a little bit what Nalani was doing. Like she didn't want to show them. Yeah. Like, Janice had this saying, and you've probably heard it before. She pray for the bear. Right? Don't pray for me, pray for the bear. And that was kind of her motto through cancer. Like, don't pray for me, pray for the bear. And she always kind of put this facade up, and that was her all the time, but it kind of got amplified when she was battling cancer of like, I got this, I'm strong. Right? Not that I don't need help, but I don't need help. Right? And I think I had to tell him, like, you're taking pictures on Facebook and Instagram and you look tight and people come and visit and you turn on every bit of energy that you have to be on during this moment. And then when this person walks out the door, you're borderline collapsing. Right. And I'd say, like, if you want people to really be here to support us, you can't show them that you're so strong all the time. Like, you got to be okay. Like, I'm tired, and showing them, the Janice with no wig, with just the beanie on, right? Like whatever that looks like. And I think that conversation with her also kind of was like me kind of doing a little bit what you did with Nalani, which was like, this is real, and people have to see how real this is.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when, for people, it was. I think that's when it became that time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Mine was a little later on in the process than you, where you had a home base kind of to come to. People come to her
Right.
in the environment she wanted, that gave her comfort to whatever level, versus the hospital setting, which was not the case for us.
Yeah.
So the way it happened for us, I was in a therapy session. I'm getting, as I'm leaving, all these texts. You need to come to the hospitals. One of our good friends, like my sister, basically. And she was texting me and then calling me. So I'm in New Jersey at the therapist, because
Right.
we live in New Jersey.
Yeah.
She had gone to the city for all her treatment.
Okay.
So we were at NYU Hospital.
Right.
And I think you can say that in this situation.
Yeah,
It's
it's
part
not
of the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she was saying, this friend, you've got to come now. You've got to come now. We're in emergency room and all of that. She's in so much pain. I was, oh my gosh, what can you do? What could I do in that? I immediately got in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm calling what's going on. And there's nothing I can do at that point but go
Right.
and be with my wife.
Yeah.
So that's the longest drive, bro.
Oh yeah.
You don't know what you're walking into. You
Yeah.
hear she's in pain. They haven't gotten her a bed. She was with the right person in this hospital. My friend, who I don't know who will come on this at all, but she's very aware of this story, and we're telling this story, that she was the right person to, as she said, another friend of mine said, she knew how to break the glass.
Right.
Sometimes you got to do that in the hospital. You ask for things.
Yeah.
Folk
yeah.
are stretched for time.
Yeah,
They've got another patient with a more chronic situation, or the same or worse or whatever. And you have to advocate for yourself in those situations. You got to do it. So that's the right person in the hospital at that time. She knew how to break the glass enough where things are going to be a little messy, but you're going to get what you need at the end of the day. So, just going to the hospital and knowing that she was in this severe, severe pain, and that they got her in a room and such, and then emergency room, kind of a temporary, until they found a bed in the hospital where they could administer the kind of care you need for somebody in her condition.
Right. Right.
Where then the oncologist comes and all the other people, and they start doing the rounds, and okay, what are we dealing with now?
Yeah.
And what was said to me was, I don't know if it was my friend. Yeah, it was my friend. She said, Nolani realizes she's not leaving this hospital ever again.
Wow.
That was really rough to hear that.
Were you there when she said that, or you
I
were on
was
the
on
phone?
the way.
Wow.
I'm driving.
Wow.
And I finally make it there, and just all those feelings, the memories, you're already had been starting that line of reverie and just thinking about what we had and what's gonna be going forward. As I said earlier, why me questioning?
Yeah.
Why not me?
Yeah.
So dealing with, this is a common reality for everybody.
Yeah.
You ain't special.
What? 1 in 10, at least.
Crazy numbers.
Right. It's crazy.
Crazy numbers. And so just that, knowing this is probably the last number of stages, because as in your situation, doctor didn't know how long. Knew it was severe, maybe gave it a few weeks, a few months.
Yeah.
She didn't know when she was going to pass. So at that point, this is when I really had to start having conversations, bring the all-star team together. Bring in my friends who were play auntie, play uncle, really family. folk I've known for a long time and had to bring them in to help with some calls. And you really have people with different positions in this very serious and dire situation.
Yeah.
And people have different roles, and they take on those different roles in the hospital. And funny stuff, knowing one of my guys would be the right person to kind of help, because it's these smooth guys, smooth voice. My voice can't get as low as his. I'm trying to get there to tell the story.
I know who you're talking about. He got a little bit of a
Our producer,
yeah,
Marlon,
yeah.
Marlon. I'm talking to Nolani's mother, Martha.
Yeah.
And we're saying to Martha, it's close now. You really have to get here. Oh, I'll come at such and time and what have you. I said, no, Martha, this is really serious. No, I'll get it together and I'll come at some point. Marlon had to get on the phone. Martha, you really need to come. Come on out. Oh, okay, Marlon. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the funny part.
Yeah.
In this very serious situation, that it took Marlon and his smoothness to really get her ticket out, and she came like the next day or 2 days after. So it's really assembling this all-star team, as I said. These different people with different skills for different purposes.
Yeah. So we were in the hospital a week, 2 weeks before our anniversary.
Yeah. And
originally the plan was we wanted to go away. And she was actually trying to I didn't mention it. Janice would do whatever she could to go to an island. At any point in time in her life.
Okay.
Right? It didn't matter. Like beg, borrow, steal, like rob somebody. Like if she can find her way to an island, with or without me, she would be there, and she'd recruit cousins.
With or without you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. She and this girls trips, solo trip, whoever trip, right? Okay. Like she and this was like we talked about, like the challenges you have, and this was one of our things. Like we can't afford the vacation right now. Yeah. Well, I'm going. Right. So this is literally like the week, 2 weeks before she's in the hospital. She's barely, now she's in a wheelchair because again the cancer spread through her bones. Yep. She's in a wheelchair or a walker, depending on the kind of situation. Yep. And she was trying to convince her oncologist to allow her to facilitate us going on a vacation to an island for our anniversary. Okay. Right. Fast forward 2 weeks, we're in a hospital. I just found out that she doesn't have much time. Yeah. Right. And we're in the hospital about to leave, and she says, "Do you think the doctor will let me go?" Stop it. Will let us go? And I'm like, I don't think so. Right. And this, I was like, we'll figure it out. Right. We'll figure it out.
That was probably the right thing to say.
I said, we'll figure it out. So fast forward 2 weeks. I call in. So same thing. I got on the phone. We're at the hospital. She's resting. This is the day before hospice picks her up. So, comes to set up at the house. And I make the calls. I call family. I call some of our closest friends. I call cousins. I'm recruiting the all-star team. Yeah. Right. And I'm telling them, like, it's kind of like with the kids, as you talked about. How do you tell the kids? Yeah. The adults are the same way. I'm handling adults and friends and cousins, and it's the same way. Like, okay, I'm going to tell this much, but not that. Yeah. I'm going to say, oh yeah, it's critical. Yeah. Mass, but I'm not going to give a timeline, or it's not good. Right. Or she's worse. Or she's got pain management at home. Wait, what does that mean? Yeah. Well. Oh no, so they're going to be here keeping her comfortable. Yeah. For how long? I mean, for as long as she needs comfort, right? Like, and like, I'm trying to spoon feed people and kind of lead the witness, as they say. And some people are like, okay, yeah, no problem. And some people are like, how bad is it? Right? Yeah. Some people get it, and some people are like the denial. Yeah. And I completely understand it. So we get home 2 weeks later. I go out and buy bags of sand. I buy a blue tarp, lay it out in the living room, empty bags of sand all over it. I went and got like all of this tropical island looking crap.
Oh.
Right. And I set up the living room.
What?
As I put on the TV and I get a video of like waterfront,
wow,
beach with sounds.
Yeah.
By this time, she's at home. She's been at home about a week and a half.
Yeah.
She can't move.
Right.
She's literally in a bed.
Yeah.
Like literally in a hospital bed that they've brought to the house.
Yeah.
Hooked up to an IV. Right. So I set all of this up, and the kids are involved, and they're having fun with it. I get floaties, and they're not. It's not connecting for them yet. Why dad's doing this, but mom's too sick to go to the beach. That's all they need to know.
Got it.
So I basically turned the living room into kind of this mini resort.
Wow.
We're giving her water out of coconuts, coconut shells, and like it was. So this is when I say, like, when I go back to say that cancer brought out the best in me as a husband.
Yeah.
It truly did. Like, it truly did make me wake up and say, when have you actually gone all out to make your marriage successful? Have you actually gone all out? And I think,
have you lived up
to your vows, right? And I think that's important to think about and to kind of take away, because as all of our friends were there and they were all helping and they were all like kind of seeing this, and they all kind of over the weeks they came through, I think she needed to see all of that support, but she also needed to see that her husband was present. Right. And I think that was the piece, in those days, weeks, it's like you take that and you're like, this is what they need to feel.
Yeah. Right.
Even when you don't know what the timeline is.
Right.
Right. That's what they need to feel. And I think that was a time period where you pulled together the all-star cast, you pulled together the all-star team, and like, yeah, what does that look like? What's everybody's roles? Did anyone stay
on at the home and during that period of time?
Man, at the time we had like a 4-bedroom house.
Okay.
In Austin. There were people on the couches.
Wow.
Right. We had family. We had a couple of our friends. One of my best friends, he was actually our best man. I think he was there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Away from his family. Her cousins were there. My stepson and his half brother was there. His half brother with his father was there. My brother-in-law was there every day. His wife was there every day. My mother-in-law, she stayed with us. So if there was a moment in a void where everybody wasn't there, my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, she was there.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it was just constant people there.
And folks coming to the house too to visit?
Oh, this is at the house.
But I'm saying outside of the people staying in your house.
Yeah, family. Yeah, okay. I mean neighbors.
Okay.
Neighbors, because we had finally I had finally started kind of saying, yes, it's tough.
Yeah.
Right. I'm being strong for the last 3 years, and now I can't. Like now I'm like, I need help.
Yeah.
Because there's days where I'm like, I can't make it through the day, but
so important.
Yeah. Right.
You've got to ask for it.
Yeah.
The other decisions coming, let alone as it relates to this stage of, in Janice's case,
right,
in her life, and our listeners with their wives or partners, that there are going to be so many more decisions. You need to allow others to help, to step in. And I think also in the hospital setting, that's where I learned that very much so, where you had a couple of different categories on the All-Star team. You had someone who was the decorum enforcer, that folk will come and they're crying and carrying on in front of Nalani, and these people have to usher them outside and say, don't do that here. No, we all feel a great loss and absence and know what's coming, but you can't.
Yeah, you got the runner, the person who's like, you need what? Oh, I'll be back. I'm gonna go get it.
Right. Yep. Somebody can get exactly. So you need these people at this critical time in the life of your spouse.
Yeah,
who is dealing with enough alone, and then at the point when they can't speak, or they're immobile.
Right.
They can't respond in a way that you're used to.
Yep.
You need those people to help you with the protocol that now is established in the hospital. Because we had hospice in the hospital, not at home. Yeah. So she had hospital in the hospital.
Yeah.
Throughout the time that she was this last stage.
Yep.
You need those consolers too. One who pulls them aside. Yes, we know, and you had a good relationship with her. She'll always remember those kinds that take that person out of the room, and you do it like that. Yeah. And then the diplomats who know how to speak to the doctors, nurses, get what they need.
They know that, not to say they know how to work the system, but they can step in because you're trying to be everything.
That's right. You can't do it.
You're trying to be everything. I remember trying to be the trying to console people who are getting emotional, trying to talk to the doctors, trying to we got to get the kids something to eat. I'll go get. No, Jamal, you don't go get it. I'll go get. That's right. You're trying to do everything.
You can't do it.
Right. And you can't. And in that moment, you kind of feel like you want to do everything. Yeah. Right. I know I did. I felt like everybody who was at the house, I wanted to be a little part of everybody. Yeah. Right. But at that moment, I had like the settling part was, Jamal, just sit down and go sit with the kids.
How do you do that?
Go just sit.
Convincingly.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yep.
Because you're dealing with your own grief.
Yeah.
Or you're kind of in the middle stage, actually.
Right. Yeah. It's the pre-grief, right? Because it's you know what's coming. Right. It's just a matter of time. Right. Right. And I think that's the piece where it's like you don't know what you're counting down to. Yeah. You know?
And still kind of in disbelief too, right?
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on Getting Back Up, Finding Life After Death. If something in today's episode spoke to you, pass it on, because somebody out there needs to hear this.
For sure. We're on all the social mausoleums, so follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Mostly it will be in the form of Get Back Up Podcast.
And be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast.
And remember, getting knocked down is part of life.
But getting back up, that's how we live.
We'll see y'all next time.